All right, class, good afternoon. This is the video lesson to the handout that I gave out to you today in class. It's an article with 4 questions on the back, and you're gonna either watch the video or read the article and do the questions and turn this in for homework tomorrow. Before I give you the information, I'm going to actually tell you the questions that you're going to answer. I'm going to tell you at the beginning so you can already have those questions in your head and be thinking about that. So when you hear the questions, you can pause the video, answer the question, and then maybe by the time that you are done watching the video, you could be done or almost done with your homework. And again, this is for the lesson, the article called The Language of Design. The Language of Design. And so the first question that you're going to do is you're going to define this term called the principles of art. So it's a term we're going to learn, and you're going to define that term, the principles of art. All right, that's what we're talking about in this lesson. So next, you're going to list the principles of art. There's 5 of them. You're going to just write down what they are. You don't know the definition for all of them because we haven't studied them all. We're just going to learn one. But you're going to list them and you're going to tell me what that whole term is. And then you're going to tell me what balance is. So the third question would be, what is balance? And then the fourth is you're going to describe the 3 kinds of balance. The 3 kinds of balance. All right, so the language of design. You know that speakers of any language follow rules of grammar. These rules govern the way words can go together to form sentences. So that's what you're doing in English. You're learning how to write English, speak English, read English, and how to use English, the English language. And the language of art also has rules. They're called the principles of art. So here's that term, the principles of art or design. You'll hear me say the principles of art or the principles of design. Different texts that we use will also use the same or both terms. They mean the same thing. So the principles of art or design. And they are guidelines that govern the way elements go together. So the term, the principles of art, are the guidelines that govern the way elements go together. You haven't learned about the elements yet. We're going to learn about the principles first, and then we're going to apply those principles to the elements as we learn the elements. And then we're going to be creating art. The principles of art are, so here's the list of the principles of art. They are balance, rhythm, contrast, emphasis, proportion, and unity. Again, balance, rhythm, contrast, emphasis, proportion, and unity. All right, so like the elements, the principles in a work of art are kind of hard to single out. So we're going to look at our first principle of art today, and it's balance. So balance. The principle of balance, B-A-L-A-N-C-E. When you ride a bicycle and lean too far to one side or the other, what happens? You fall down, right? You teeter-totter, and then you fall down. All right, so in riding a bike, balance is important. Balance is important in art too. In art, balance is arranging elements so that no one part of a work overpowers or seems heavier than another part. So basically, that's a long definition. And you can write a shorter definition if you would like. You can copy this one or you can write a shorter one. Basically, what I want you to understand is balance in artwork is when both sides of the artwork have equal amount of importance, equal amount of interest. They both have the same amount of objects or artwork on those sides. It's balanced. It's equal. All right. So in the real world, balance can be measured on a scale. All right. So you have a scale. If 2 objects weigh the same, the 2 sides of the scale will balance. They're the same height. If one is heavier, so if they don't balance, one side of the scale will tip. So you put a heavier object here and boop, 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 you know, it tips. In art though, the balance, you don't have scales. The balance is seen or felt by the viewer. All right, so a big bold splotch of color off to one side of a painting pulls the viewer's eye, all right, from everything else. If you've got a big bold splotch here, nothing really going on here, then your eye moves to that, and it kind of makes makes the work seem lopsided. Like you look at it and you're like, that's weird. It can make the viewer feel uncomfortable. You're like, I don't like that up here. There's nothing going on here. So just move this. Just move it to the center. You know, we like this. We can deal with this. You know, we're used to this. This makes us feel weird. So the artists speak of three kinds of balance. You know, there's three ways that artists achieve balance, and they're formal balance, informal balance, and radial balance. All right, so the first one is formal balance. F-O-R-M-A-L, balance. Formal balance happens when one half of the work is a mirror image of the other half. Look at figure 1, the church, front of the church. Both sides are exactly the same. Both sides are exactly the same. It's also called symmetrical balance. You've learned that in math, or you will soon. Symmetrical balance, both sides are exactly the same. Because it's so predictable though, because we see it all the time, using formal balance sometimes makes the work seem less interesting. It's harder to make a really cool piece of artwork when you use that technique, the formal balance. Because we've seen it before, we're like, yeah, we're used to that, But if you look at that painting and the figure F2, notice how the formal balance, it creates a feeling, and this book says it creates a feeling of a quiet dignity to the artwork. So 5-2 right here. You got the church right here. 5-2 right here. It's a painting of Virgin Mary. She's got angels all around her. She's right in the center. Everything's both the same. It kind of creates this idea that this is special. You know, this is holy. She should, you know, this character is important. All right. So it's creating a feeling of quiet dignity by having both sides be exactly the same right there in the center. All right, so they're using that principle to make you feel something. That's a really important, I guess, part of art and why we do art, why we make art, and why we like art. All right, so the next one though is informal balance. Here it is right here, 2 letters different. Informal, I-N-F-O-R-M-A-L, balance. Informal balance. Informal balance happens when 2 different objects seem to have the same visual weight. The weight is suggested by the colors, or the hues, values, intensities, and shapes of those objects. It's also called asymmetrical balance. Informal balance often shows up in the way the artist has used colors and shape. All right, so like if you have a small shape right here, painted bright red, bright red, and then you have all these other big shapes over here, you look at them, your eyes are going to go to both of them because you got the size over here that draws you to these objects, and then the bright color draws you over here. All right, so look at figure 5-3 right here underneath this information. Problem though is that it's supposed to be seen in color. It's black and white. But you have 3 people on one side and then 1 person on the other, and in the actual painting she's got bright clothes on, so both sides are equally important. Your eyes don't just stay on the third or on the group of 3 people. You look at the whole thing because both sides are equally as interesting. Informal balance is often used to create more interesting compositions. Arranging objects or elements, though, like this, informally can be very complicated, but it can create visual interest when used skillfully. That's basically saying it's a little bit harder. You got to put your brain into work a little bit more, but it pays off at the end. It looks cool. So the next one is radial balance. Right here, radial balance. R-A-D-I-A-L, balance. You've heard that word before, something similar. Radius, think about math. The circle, radius of a circle, exact same thing. Radial balance happens when the elements or objects in an artwork are positioned around a center point. A flower with its petals spreading around outward from the center is an example of radial balance in nature. All right, so flower, you got the little thing, this thing in the center, you got all the petals coming out of it. Radial balance. In figure 5-4, you got a ceremonial cloth, center point, other designs come out of it, radial balance. The radial ceremonial cloth in figure 5-4 is an example of radial balance in art. All right, so there you go, there's your information. All right, principles of art. We learned about those 5, or learn what those 5 principles are. Balance, and we talked about 3 ways that balance can be achieved. So, first question, 6th and 7th graders, on your piece of paper with with your name, date, grade on it, on the right side. You're going to number 1, 2, 3, 4, and you're going to write out the question, and then write your answer. First question is you're going to define principles of art. So what is that term, principles of art, mean? Next, you're going to list the principles of art. So what are the 5 principles of art? Number 3, what is balance? What is the principle of balance? And number 4, describe the 3 kinds of balance. There's 2 ways you can do this. You can either write down these words, write down the words, tell me what they are, or you can write or draw a square for each one, label it formal, informal, and radial, and draw me a picture. Whatever works best, whatever makes more sense to you. It doesn't. If you write it down and you don't understand your answer, then it doesn't matter. I want you to understand your own answer. I want you to understand what you're saying. So you need to understand your answer just as much as I need to understand your answer, because then it's just, if you don't, then it's just words on a page. But this actually shows me that you understand the content. All right, so 6th and 7th graders, you're done. See you tomorrow. 4 questions, 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, 8th graders, you're not doing that 1, 2, 3, 4. Remember, you are compiling it all into a paragraph. So it sounds tough, but it's not. So you're not going to write 1, the answer, 2, the answer, 3, the answer. No, you're going to write each answer in sentence form. So principles of art design mean blank, sentence, and you're going to put it all in a paragraph, no numbers. So you're going to write 1 paragraph. You're going to have all 4 of these questions answered in that paragraph. All right, it seems harder than it is. It sounds like a lot of work, but it's really not. It's actually less because you don't have to write numbers. All right, so there's some numbers you don't have to write. Complete sentences and 1 paragraph. You can turn it in with this article as well. All right, guys, so there you go. I know I have had to talk kind of quick because of the time on my camera here, but you can always rewind and watch it again or watch different parts of it. So until next time, guys, I will see y'all tomorrow. Have a good night. See you later. Bye.